Previously on Thorny Questions.
They're thorny, 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 thorny.
We saw in the last episode that the Bible
is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. And so on.
is so big that it has founded Western civilization, transformed billions of lives, and built our world. We're all so shaped by the Bible that even the problems we have with the Bible have been given to us by the Bible. Whether you think the Bible is unscientific, violent, judgmental, homophobic, or pro-slavery, all the values you assume in order to criticize the Bible are themselves from the Bible. You might point the finger at one aspect of the scriptures, but you'll find that you're standing on another part of the scripture to do it. The Bible is colossal, it's inescapable, it's huge.
Huge.
The Bible has shaped you, far more than you know. And you won't understand yourself or your world without understanding it.
But alright, you might say, if it's so vast, how should I go about investigating it? Well, last time we suggested that you begin with the Gospels as a way in, those 4 biographies of Jesus that begin the New Testament. As we suggest that, though, it might give you another problem. You see, the Bible is not just big, it's also old.
Ha ha, you're old!
So then here's the problem. How can we possibly know that the book in our hands today is the same as what the authors wrote? I mean, we don't have what any ancient writers wrote. That's because they wrote on papyrus and other kinds of materials that last about as long as a Simon Cowell boy band. Plato, Aristotle, Julius Caesar, Homer. We study their works today because we're relying on manuscripts that are from centuries after the original. This infographic shows the comparison. The length of the line shows the length of time between the original manuscript and the earliest copies we possess. The size of the yellow ball shows how many existing copies we have. So we have copies of Homer's Iliad from 500 years after it was written, and we have 643 of them. That's pretty good. Because the earliest copy of Caesar's Gallic Wars is from 1,000 years after it was written, and we only have 10 copies of that. As for Plato, the earliest copies of his writings are from 1,200 years after he wrote, and we've only got 7 copies. Compare that to the New Testament. We have parts of books from 40 to 70 years after the writers wrote, and we have 24,000 manuscripts. That's huge.
Huge.
If you have any confidence about any writing from antiquity, you should have confidence that what we have in the New Testament is basically what was written down. Yet people often express doubts. They say things like, well, you can't trust the Bible, it's just a translation of translations. People imagine that the transmission of the Bible is like a game of Chinese whispers. You know Chinese whispers. Apparently Chinese whispers were once called shiny whistlers, then before that tiny whiskers because, well, think about it. People think the Bible came down to us like Chinese whispers.
I heard Skinner say the teachers will crack any minute.
Skinner said the teachers will crack any minute. Purple monkey dishwasher.
Well, we'll show him, especially for that purple monkey dishwasher remark.
But the analogy with the Bible doesn't really hold. The Bible is like a game of Chinese whispers where the kids write down the message, then at the end they compare the written messages with a dozen other lines of transmission to try to piece together the original wording. The only way you can have a worse party game is by playing leapfrog with a unicorn. Okay, well, maybe don't think about that one. But the Bible isn't like Chinese whispers, and it's not like a puzzle with pieces missing. We don't have pieces missing from the Bible. It's more like we have a puzzle with extra pieces. Lots of them, actually. But these extra pieces are like purple monkey dishwasher. In the vast majority of the cases, we know that they're extra. They don't fit. Bart Ehrman, a best-selling critic of the Bible, says,
there are more differences in our manuscripts than there are words in the New Testament.
That's a big number.
A large number.
It's a big number. Big number.
A very big number.
Bigger number than that.
Big league number.
A huge number.
A very significant number.
There might be hundreds of thousands of variants, but really that number is a function of how many manuscripts we have. If there was only one manuscript, there'd be no variations. Would that be a good thing? In the vast majority of cases, the kind of variants we have are spelling and word order variations that are untranslatable in English. Ehrman, to his credit, admits this.
most of these differences that I'm talking about don't matter for a thing.
In fact, New Testament scholar Daniel Wallace says only 1% of the variants are both meaningful and viable as contenders for what was originally written.
So even critics of the Bible are convinced about 99% of it. But still, you might be freaked out that it's not 100%. You might be wondering, what is the nature of this murky 1%? Well, Bart Ehrman wrote a New York Times bestseller called Misquoting Jesus in order to expose these variants to the world and cast doubt forever on the New Testament. Let's briefly take you through the highlights of his critique. Ready? Brace yourselves, people.
We're going in hard! Strap in!
Bart tells us that John 7 verse 53 to John 8 verse 12, the story of the woman caught in adultery, was probably not a part of the original manuscript of John. Bart says Christians are often shocked to learn this. But I don't think I've ever read a Bible that hasn't made that abundantly clear. He then draws attention to the longer ending of Mark's Gospel, to Luke 22 verse 43, and to 1 John chapter 5 verses 7 and 8. Once again, no one with a modern translation of the Bible is tempted to think that these verses are on a level with the rest of the New Testament. Then Bart brings up a couple of variants, which he makes a really big deal over. So there's Mark chapter 1 verse 41, where Jesus heals a leper. And here's the question. Was Jesus full of anger? Presumably anger at the leprosy. He was also angry at death when he raised Lazarus. Was he full of anger or was he full of compassion? One manuscript tradition says anger, another says compassion. Well, that's interesting, but the most popular English translation of the Bible goes with exactly what Ehrman thinks is the likely original. But Ehrman seems to think this is devastating to faith.
He also makes a big deal out of Hebrews chapter 2 verse 9. Did Jesus die apart from God or by the grace of God? It's just one letter different in Greek. Is it choris or charis? Once again, Ehrman wants to say that this completely changes your view of Jesus and the atonement. Except that either option would be consistent with a bunch of other clear statements in the Bible. Frankly, I don't know which option is correct, and Bart doesn't know either. But there are some things we do know. It was one of those two options. There isn't a missing piece of the puzzle. One of those two pieces is the right one. Either one of them could fit, and neither of them undermines anything foundational to Christian beliefs. As Ehrman himself has admitted, essential Christian beliefs are not affected by textual variants in the manuscript tradition of the New Testament. These are the main variants Bart Ehrman highlights to make his case. Now, be honest, if you've had doubts about the Bible, if you've ever wondered whether this book contains what the authors actually wrote, you probably imagine far bigger problems than those, right? People often say to me, look, you can't trust the Bible, it's just a translation of translations, it's Chinese whispers, we've lost the original and it's hopeless. But with someone like Bart Ehrman, you've got the world's leading Bible critic trying to make the most devastating case he can, and he ends up pointing out what every modern translation makes plain and quibbling over words and letters that make no difference at all to basic Christian belief. To retool a line from Terry Eagleton when he critiqued Richard Dawkins, Ehrman is banging at open doors and shooting at straw targets. And that is supposedly the most devastating popular critique of the New Testament in modern times. Maybe it's time for Ehrman to step away from the Bible.
No, Bart, put it down. Put it down, Bart. Bart, put it down.
The Bible is old. The Gospels are old, but they are reliable. Far and away the most reliable documents from the ancient world. And they are not Chinese whispers. What we have here is essentially what they wrote. You might think that what they wrote was wrong. Well, that's our topic for the next video. But be assured you can have historical confidence in this book. Whether you end up having personal confidence in its message, that's up to you. But nothing should stop you from picking this up and reading the Gospels. After all, they've transformed billions of lives.
Billions and 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 billions and